Okay, today we have Houston-based entrepreneur Lindsey Lee Holt in the house. You guys may know her on Instagram as Houston Diamond Girl. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited, a little nervous.
I was excited when my team found you, and I'm like, I actually know who she is. I just met her in person the other day, and I'm so excited to have her on.
You know, our little bingo night?
I've been following you since around COVID. I think that's when you really hit it big on social media, or a lot of people started finding out about you. And so I want to hear your story. So let's start with, what is the name of your business? Like I said, everybody knows you as Houston Diamond Girl. So what's the name of your business, and who are you in your business today?
Okay, so my business name is Lindsey Lee Jewelry, but my handle on Instagram is Houston Diamond Girl. It gets a little confusing at times. We've thought about merging the two and creating just Lindsey Lee Jewelry, but Houston Diamond Girl has such a following now. But I started Lindsey Lee Jewelry in May of 2018, so coming up on 6.5 years now. I got into the industry fresh out of college. So I worked for a jewelry store here in Houston, and I loved it. I graduated from college. Let's just go back to college. So I graduated from college, and I did not know what I was doing. Had no idea. I did fashion merchandising.
That's what I saw. Totally different career change, but kind of the same
yeah.
at the same time.
So I did the whole go to LA, work at a PR style house. Mm-hmm. Hated all of it. Realized this is not my industry at all.
What did you hate about it?
Oh God, the celebrity creeping, the following of celebrities. We used to have to do magazine clipping. So anywhere that a celebrity borrowed clothing from the PR style house that we worked at, we had to go to every single site. I mean, you had to dig for hours on these sites trying to figure out who all posted about it so you could clip it, put it out there into the media that the celebrity borrowed from you. It was just a lot, and I hated it.
The TMZ of design.
Yes, and so it was this is not fun. I don't enjoy this. I don't really want to creep on somebody my whole life, on all these people. So I came back to Houston and was I don't know what I'm doing with my life. So I went to a jewelry store here in Houston, and I was I'm going backpacking through Thailand for 6 weeks. Do you have flash tattoos? Do y'all remember flash tattoos? What? Okay, a company in Austin created these tattoos that were jewelry, and they were temporary tats. So you would put them on.
I follow somebody that wears those on their. At first, I thought it was a real tattoo, and then I was saw another video and it was gone.
They're temporary tattoos that you put on, but they're gold foil and silver, and they're
so
crazy
it's
jewelry
type
yes,
stuff.
But it stays on for a week. So I was these are so cool, and they were all the rage. The lady who started it is an actual complete genius. Mm-hmm. She would sell out everywhere. So this one store had them in Houston, and it was a jewelry store. So I was I'm gonna swing by there and get some flash tattoos before we go backpacking through Thailand.
So wild.
What do they charge somebody for something like that?
Oh, they were expensive.
And you did them yourself, or you had them done?
No, you did them yourself. You got the sheets of them, and you would just cut them out and put on you, and you put the wet rag on you, and you do it to your friends, and yeah. And then they would come off, and after a week, they would start to come off a temporary tattoo, and it would be so mess. Gross looking. Yeah, so gross. So I was okay, well, we can't dress up our jewelry while we're in Thailand. Let's do flash tattoos. And
so you were going with friends?
Yes, I was going with one girlfriend to Thailand. We were going for 6 weeks. So we were okay, we were backpacking. The store was hey, will you tag us with your flash tattoos? Because no one could keep them in stock. That's how crazy they were. I was yeah, sure. So I get to Thailand, and we're on the beach. We're laughing and having somebody take a photo of us. And I tagged them, and then they DM'd me, and they were hey, do you need a job? We're looking for somebody to, assistant manager. And I was
what year was this in?
2014.
Okay, so early on Instagram. I'm assuming when you say tagged, it was on Instagram, right?
Yes.
So very early Instagram.
Very early Instagram. So I was you know what? I kind of do. I don't really know what I'm doing. So I went in, and maybe it was 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2013 because I just.
That's when I got on, was 14. It'd only been a few years old.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's when it was. So I go in. They're hey, do you need a job? I was kind of. Do you mind if I work here, but while I apply for different jobs? Because I don't really know anything about jewelry. I'm
just going to use you as a stepping stone. Got it?
Yeah, sure. 6 months later, I'm promoted to manager. And so I loved it. I ran the store. I did all of his books. I worked all of his accounts. I was the buyer.
What was the jewelry store? Can you say?
It was Charday in Houston. So, and I loved my boss, Cliff. He was awesome. He was super supportive, wanted to help me grow. But then I was there for so many years, and it was just kind of this isn't my store, so there's nothing really else I can do. I can only
capped.
Yeah, I'm hitting a ceiling. I can only manage so many girls, whatnot. So I also was in the modeling industry for years. So I
And
started.
by the way, you can't tell, but she's 6 foot tall.
I am.
When her husband's 6'6", so her kids are going to be basketball players and beyond.
I'm sorry, Lily. So I started doing that when I was like 14. So I was always kind of had my foot in the fashion industry in Houston.
Where did you model?
Page Parks.
Okay, I'm surprised I hadn't run across you at some point.
Oh, I'm sure.
I went to Page Parks when I was like 14 for the modeling school, but yeah, I've always just done makeup for Neiman's. When I worked at Neiman's, we
I
always had
guarantee
models in there
you
and fashion shows.
we crossed
so,
paths,
yeah.
and I was really awkward looking.
Or
Still probably am a little awkward, but yeah, no. So I did that for years, and I was just like, okay, this is kind of like, so I saved all of my money doing that for, years. I just like stockpiled it away. That's kind of like my mindset when I grew up. Like every dollar you make, you save. Like,
Were you living with your parents or were you living in
no, I was living with my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I know. I think it's good for people to hear that because I did the same thing. It's like you're able to save a bunch of money at your job you're at so you can go start your own thing.
Yeah, my mom was single and I was like, I'm not, and I hoarded my money. I was very like strategic with my money.
I kind of did the same
I
thing.
did the
yeah.
same thing too.
Like my sister would, and like when I was growing up, my sister would and her friends would all get like polo wallets or like something from Harwin or something like that.
Oh, we love some Harwin growing
Yeah,
up. My
and-
mom's like, you're getting your prom dress on Harwin. Budget $100. Get whatever you want.
Field day. So like they would get to go in high school and then I would be like, they were like the cool girls, So I'd be like, Tia, can I like, buy some of your stuff? So the girls, my sister and all her friends would sell me their stuff and then I would sell it to my friends. So I was just like always figuring out ways
make a
like
buck.
in middle school, like how to make money and how to save. And so all my
We
friends,
actually see this consistently with a lot of entrepreneurs now. They always had a side hustle before they were even old enough to work.
and you only realize those things and when you look back or when you're doing things like this where it's like, wow, I always had this mentality of like $1 is so important and like you need a lot of them to go anywhere, to like
Also an
build
important
something.
skill because if you learn how to buy something and sell something, I mean, it's basically
Very young age.
goes back to everything, right?
Yeah.
When you get older, it's almost the foundation. And
It
so
is.
we're going to teach our kid a lot of sales and cost of goods. And so we'll see where it goes. But
It starts
it's
off
a lot of
with the
people
little
don't
grocery
know.
store that they,
Yeah.
the little grocery store you get your kids.
Oh, yeah, a little
Some
garage
people
sales.
naturally have it. And then, but I think if you teach them early on at an early enough age, they would know the same thing that you did. They'd have the same concept.
Yes.
It's a hard skill to teach later in life. I have
It is.
I have that issue when I'm hiring makeup artists. It's like, do I hire somebody that is really skilled in makeup but has never sold anything before? Maybe they've just always been a freelance artist doing weddings. Or do I hire somebody that's in
That can
retail that I
sell.
can teach makeup?
Yes.
It's hard because
hard.
when I hire the seasoned artists or hairstylists as makeup artists, it's really challenging to encourage them to sell and not just clerk.
Yes.
Because customer service is so huge. And what we do, that if you're not assisting and catering to the client, making every client feel like your best friend, they're not going to come back.
They're not going to come back.
They
They're
don't
not
have
going
any
to feel
kind of
that warm.
tie or yes,
Yeah.
exactly. If they feel like they come home when they come into your place and they know everybody and everybody knows their name
Yes.
and the follow-ups. Still, I'm struggling with that. Our very first podcast outside of our own was interviewing a guy named Philip that went from $3 million a year to $83 million a year in sales. And
Whoa.
what was it 1 or 2 years? 2 years, I think.
Two.
Selling boats and four-wheelers and stuff like that. And he, contributes his success to his great customer service. And what he provides is what Neiman Marcus used to provide 4 years
which
ago.
they don't do anymore.
No, offer you a glass of champagne.
Yeah.
Offer you coffee or whatever. Keep you there as long as possible in the follow-up, which is so important too. But I think all of that, like I said, goes back to being that way when you're a child and learning those
Yes.
skills early on and then just applying them to whatever you do later. When I got my first job, I remember I'd always been a good salesperson, but I never wanted to suggest things that people didn't ask for. I didn't want.
Which
I
is
felt
also hard because
uncomfortable.
then you don't want to push, but then you don't want to like make them feel, and then be like, no, what? I would never wear that. And you're like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, and then
kidding.
and a lot
Just
of
a
people
joke.
struggle with that because because they don't want to feel that they don't want to hear a no, right?
Yep.
But you got to I didn't make the jewelry. That your employees like, I didn't make the jewelry. I didn't make these clothes. And when I worked as
It's
a
not my name on the
salesperson,
building,
yeah.
is what my girls always say.
And I had this
My
like
name.
meth head manager when I worked at 579. I hope she doesn't follow me still. And she was like so good at just throwing things over and say, try this, try this, try this. She's like, they don't like it. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You can make these clothes. Who cares? But you're never gonna sell them more if you don't introduce them to other
Yep.
things. So, anyways, back
If you
to
don't push them outside the box.
yeah, I think that's so important is creating the relationships, and it's just something that's so simple that a lot of people just don't know how to do, or it's not innate.
It's hard though. It's hard to train, teach. You have it or you don't, I feel like.
So, are you there on the sales floor? I know we're kind of skipping around your story. Are you there where they're watching you? every day? Or
no.
and that's to the point where I'm at too. It's hard because I'm
hard.
like, I feel pulled in all the different directions, and I'm like, I want to be out there so they can
And I
watch
want
me
to train,
and learn
yes,
from me,
and I
which
want to
can't.
train you to be like me and do like me, but I can't, because then my days would get sucked away, and I have Zoom calls, marketing calls, all internal meetings, like I have touch bases. I have something every single day that's like 2-hour, 3-hour meetings, and I can't. But then it's like also too, well, where's the foundation that you're creating if you're not out there doing it?
How can you become the Chick-fil-A of whatever?
Yeah, if you're
without
not, on
consistency?
the. But so our office is all glass, so I can see things and I can hear everything. And so sometimes I'll like hop out there. If it's a client I know, they make sure that I see them, or I hop out if I can. So I do like that about our office, is that it's all glass. That
And that's not
everyone
distracting
knows.
for you, feeling like you're.
Oh, it's for sure distracting.
He loves all glass too. He has all glass too. But they don't have clients coming in. But he loves that open feel of all
No,
glass.
but you have to have a good sales training program so you are comfortable with the people that are on your floor. And
Yeah.
so, but that's the part you need to be involved in, and not the every 5 minutes of you walking out there trying to check on somebody. You need to do it
But you can't
up
scale
front.
Yeah, you can't scale that way. So yeah,
And
it's
so you need to help put together that training program, and then
we're working
where you're
on it
actually
right now.
comfortable. Yeah,
We're creating a whole PowerPoint
where you're like, I'm
presentation.
super comfortable with any girl that goes out on the floor, like that is going to be excel, right? Because you gave them the right tools to be successful.
Also about the hiring process, which
I
is
know,
that's
it's
a
hard.
whole other thing.
But getting on
Anyways.
video too is what we started doing. Well, I don't want to skip past this too. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel this is where a lot of
Okay.
people get stuck and making things scalable and being consistent with the copy and paste. We started doing videos, and so we make every new hire, and they're on YouTube. So we have them hosted because that's was the biggest challenge for us. Is if we have all these videos, they're going to take up so much
I gotta
space.
get my pen and paper.
So how do people? Where do we put these videos,
Yeah.
and how do we make it easy to access? But you can. I mean, this sounds like for someone like Brian sitting over here, he's like, duh, shouldn't everybody know this? But a lot of people don't know is you can host your videos on YouTube, but keep them unlisted, meaning they're not going to be on your channel. Nobody else is
private
going
No
to
one
see
can see
them.
them.
They have to have the exact link. So if they have the exact link, we just have a portfolio of links saying, this section is going to help you on closing out your sale. This section is going to help you on how to address the skincare ingredients during your lesson.
Oh gosh.
So
Okay,
then that
I
way
need
they
to
can
like write
access
this
each-
down, because we're trying to do a whole. We'll get into this later, but it's like a.
That
we're
way, if you change
changing-
hands,
We're
you know,
changing the way we operate at LLJ, and this is a huge step because in my industry, being retail is something that we'll get into it later. But I'm making a huge change, and so we're having to make this whole like protocol on how to handle it. And videos would be nice because we're doing a lot of just role play right now.
I love role play. I
We
love
love
a good
role play. I love to make a girl awkward too.
I call it pop quiz. I call them pop quizzes. So after they watch all the videos, after they read the company guidelines, then I pop quiz them to see if they actually retained it. Because I have realistic expectations. Like once you read it the first time and you don't have anything to apply it to, it doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
it's if you're not applying it, it's hard.
So then you do the pop quizzes and you go back and you read it again. But the videos are very helpful because
Need that.
if you are teaching someone below you, a trainer, and then that trainer leaves, then what happens? You have to copy and paste
You have
that
to
again to the
redo
next
it. That's-
person and
yeah.
start over. But if you can spend just a week doing videos, getting those videos edited to where you want them to be, and then having that asset hosted on a platform that doesn't cost you any money.
Kind of removed
unlisted.
yourself from.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I mean, you
mean,
still have to have a
wow.
good sales trainer to help them implement that information.
And that's where we lack is having someone with the follow-up training to making sure like after they've been here for a month and a quarter and 6 months
The
that they're-
30, 60,
that they're still
90s.
doing
Yeah.
we need to still do that too. So anyway, so let's go back to your story
Yeah.
since we got a little derailed.
You're working manager, diamond store.
Yes.
You knew there was nowhere for you to grow at this point.
Yes, exactly. So I was kind of like, what do I do now? So
How many years had it been at this point?
almost 3.
So you've been there for 3 years, post college,
Yes.
post your
I had
fake
learned-
tattoos.
Yes, flash tattoos. I don't even know if they're still around. God, I got to do some creeping on her. So yeah, so I was there for a few years, and then I was just like, hey. And then I was on this family trip, and this guy who had a engagement ring store in Houston. It was kind of like a private clientele in an office building. He did custom engagement rings, custom wedding bands. He was like, hey, you should come work for me. I was like,
Did his
okay.
name start with an R?
Yes.
That's where I got my ring from.
That's where I bought hers. And it was a referral from somebody else too. Yeah. And you just like go up there and it's like this little
I'm sure
office.
he's not listening.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I've heard he's a bit hard to work with on the client side. I didn't work with him directly, so I don't know. But very particular about what he wants and what he will make. But he's really good at it.
Yes. So they're no longer around. So I can
Really?
kind of like,
Maybe a different person.
I was, yeah, we'll
We'll talk about it later.
we'll talk off air. I was there for 1 year, and I was hired on as just like it was me, him, and another salesperson, another sales guy, and then one outside sales guy, and then an office guy that was like managing the office. So it was literally I was the only female. And so the way I was hired on was, hey, you get 20% of gross profit from anything that you bring in.
Can I ask how much just for personal reasons, how much gross profit is when they're doing like more of a wholesale? There's no retail location. What are they trying to make whenever they're buying a diamond, putting it on a ring, and reselling it? Just because I was curious whenever I went through the whole, I didn't know anything about diamonds.
Speak the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the truth. I want to know.
We want lies.
So if you're
Are we
buying it,
lying this podcast?
everything's
Are we
coming
telling
from
the
New
truth?
York or
Yeah, if it's
wherever.
retail store, we
it's-
understand there's more
Yeah,
costs
yeah.
involved.
We
Like, what's the
understand the
markup?
retail-
10%,
we understand the
100%?
retail version, but this is
So-
so everyone that's out there. I went to some wholesale place. It was just an office building. They buzz you in. You go in there, and it's just a couple people that work there. The owner, and then almost like a broker, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Kind of. So I will tell you, with that facade that you had of like, oh, this is wholesale, they don't have a retail location.
Yes.
We were able to get away with higher margins than a retail store.
Yeah. Okay.
Because of the luxury experience, right?
So,
And because
but I
you
went.
thought it was like, oh, you're getting a wholesale
It's
pricing.
like Sam's Wholesale. You thought you were getting something good.
Yes.
But I went to a couple retail places, and I do know that I saved a bunch of money based on the couple retail places I did go.
Exactly.
So I might not have went
Probably
everywhere.
like high-end retail too.
I did.
Yeah.
You probably know the names in town.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Very high.
I love when people go there. Sometimes I send them there, you know?
Oh,
So I'm
yeah.
like,
Okay.
go do that. So,
What's the gross margin on the diamond
So,
that they're
okay.
selling me?
oh God, this is bad. Okay. So everyone is going to the same people and getting diamonds. Doesn't matter if you're a retailer, if you're a wholesaler here in Houston.
That's kind of what I kind of pieced together
Yes.
after talking to 2 or 3 people. That's what I
Yes.
thought.
Yes. It just matters that like unless you're going retail and buying a like let's say Takori or a not
Like a
Tiffany,
brand.
'cause you have to go to Tiffany.
Yeah.
Yes, like a brand.
Yeah.
Then you are paying their margin, their markup. You have to abide by their rules. But let's just say that I'm custom.
They have fixed costs, is what you're saying. Like a Roberto
Yes.
Corner would have a fixed cost. You can't
Yes,
charge more or
you
less.
For
can't charge
minimum
more.
advertised
Okay.
price.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have to
And
sell at least.
Sometimes you're allowed to discount those because I've been on both sides. Remember, I've been on the retail side of it, and I've sold all the brands, and then I've been on the custom side of it. What we would sell some of our diamonds at the retail store would have lower markup than what I was selling my diamonds for at the quote unquote wholesale store. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it all depends on who you are buying your stones from, obviously. So like some wholesalers, diamond wholesalers, have higher markups. Obviously, like I know who some of them are. I'm not going to call on them unless it's like a crazy unique stone that only they have. And then I have, everybody has to pay a higher markup if it's super unique. So you kind of like learn who your diamond dealers are that are, I have some overseas. I have some,
What they're holding, yeah.
I have some in Belgium, in Antwerp, and then I have some in New York. So you have to know your diamond pricing and your diamond, what the wholesaler is selling them at. And you as a wholesaler or retailer can sell it at whatever markup you deem fair, if that makes sense. So most retailers will put like 2x markup,
Okay.
maybe on a diamond. That's a shit ton. Like that's insanity.
It's like a big name, like a Tiff. Well, not. I don't use Tiffany as an example. Say Robbins Brothers.
Yeah,
Like,
like
know that
I'm
brand.
not. Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly how they work, but other stores that you probably went to, you were like, okay, that was crazy.
Some local places on
Yes,
Timer.
where I was working, theirs was automatic 1.85 markup. Like,
Yeah, and you almost need it because those retail places are so expensive for jewelry, the locations you're going to have and your operation.
1,000%. But 1.85 is insanity on a diamond. Like crazy.
That's about what I kind of figured.
Yeah. But to me, I'm like, oh God, I am a quote unquote retail, but there's no way I can even come near that. I can't even come to a 0.5 markup on a diamond. Like no freaking way. And that's because for me, my competition isn't here in Houston. My competition's in New York. Like because I'm on the Instagram world, I don't do just Houston people. I do all over the US. So I'm fighting and competing with who their dealers are and who they are. So I have a lot more, like I wouldn't run my company off engagement rings, if that makes sense. It's what opened my doors and started me and got me across the world. I mean, across the US, but it's not, and Canada and Mexico. But it's not what keeps my lights on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the smallest side of my company.
This is probably not as big of a market for that.
And it's a lot of work.
It's just like daily jewelry, you know.
You know, I can have one girl on the retail showroom floor sell one necklace that's, you know, $15,000, but my customs girl selling a $15,000 engagement ring, it took her 6 months, you know,
Because he didn't know what he wanted, and then what happens if she doesn't like it?
and yes, and it's like
sizing
and y'all, the amount of engagements that fall apart, like,
Yeah.
and we're not gonna
didn't
leave.
She doesn't say
Yes.
yes.
I didn't even think about that. It's like
Oh.
1 month they're like, I don't need it.
Yes. And the bigger we get and the more engagement rings we do, the more this happens. Like, I never had it happen to me one time when I was working for anyone else, but
Do you put a deposit? I can't even remember what I did. Do you put a deposit?
yeah, so they put a 30% deposit down.
should cover the majority of their cost if they were to back out.
No.
Majority of your cost, so it doesn't.
No. Ooh, no.
So how many times have you been stuck with an engagement ring?
I've never actually had it happen during just the deposit phase. It's only happened after the engagement phase. So I've only had it probably happen 5 times. Which is kind of a lot, though. If you
I mean,
think
can
about
they
it.
return it at that point? I mean,
Do
how
you
does this
buy
work?
diamonds back at a
So-
lower rate?
I would love to hear your return policy.
So that's the thing. The return policy is it's custom. You
Yeah.
know, you did it, you made it. We've never not let anyone return it back, though. I don't think.
So it's basically a buyback at this.
Yeah.
And do you
Because it's
resell
like,
it?
that sucks.
Do you go resell it on the wholesale market, or you just try to, depending
I
on
keep
what it
it.
is? Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll make it into like a necklace, or I'll just put in some of my stock pieces. But in some of them, they've never even proposed with it. So this is a
Oh, God.
untouched diamond that we just removed from their setting, and now it's in my inventory. And I don't buy inventory of diamonds, so it's like, but you gotta have a little bit of heart for these people when they're coming back and they're like,
I guess I have lesser than a heart because if somebody gets left at the altar, I'm like, sorry, you lose your deposit. Sorry, I held today.
I
mean,
know.
we're talking about thousands versus, you know, tens of thousands of dollars is the difference. But
yeah,
very
no,
nice
it's
of
like
you to
a-
do that.
It's not really on you, but I get it. I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah, I don't make them pay in
take it
full
back.
because I've had a lot of people just say, hey, wedding got called off.
Yeah, you're
it's
the
next
same thing.
week,"
You're
you
like,
know? What do you do?
they-
And I'm like, well, my artists, and this is a contract business outside of my cosmetic line,
Yes.
totally separate business, the wedding business is. And I'm like, well, they held that Saturday. They're not going to make any money now.
Yeah,
Because
now
the deposit
yeah.
goes to me. So now I have to split the deposit with them. So you're not getting it back. At least to give them something to put some
Something.
bread on the table for the
Yeah.
weekend. I mean, all the money that, I'm sure the commissioned salesperson is not too happy when that happens, you know?
And that was the thing. It's just like, now they have all this wasted time, which my girls
Yes.
are like, whatever. And another thing we don't do in my office is we don't do commission.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Well, then that's great. Then it's
Because I don't want them pricing anything high just so that they can make more money.
Yeah.
And I always want the client to know that, like, I'm not commission based. I am being completely honest and fair, because as soon as I sell that engagement ring to them and they enjoyed the experience and they liked it, okay, now we have the wedding bands, now we have the anniversary, the push present, and they come in and it's like a lifelong of
Yeah. A lifelong customer.
yes. And it's that to me is more valuable than them getting, you know,
time being a one-time
this
one-off.
one-time purchase, and then they find out from their friend that they paid X and they paid X over.
Oh,
and
because
they're
they all
like-
talk. And this is
They
why
all
I don't
talk.
ever
That's why we're always like, y'all,
consistency.
consistency and
Yes.
being extremely fair
and honest.
with and being so competitive, because I've got to compete with people online and people in New York, because that's a lot of my clients. Like, my clients are all over and they don't know me personally and they can't come in and have that one-on-one experience
is
with us,
actually-
so it's all over a phone call.
This is a great piece of advice. Is
So,
that
yeah.
creating that consistency. So that as soon as I know, I mean, even if it's just with a contractor that we use, that I know they charge Sean a certain price, and then someone I refer goes, "Is this normal?" I instantly don't trust them.
Yes.
And Sean does that all the time. He's like, "Give me your final and best offer," and they say this, and then Sean walks away and he goes, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go with somebody else." And they go, "Wait, I can knock off." We just dealt with this on one of our contractors in Austin.
All of
and
a
then
sudden
he
you're
knocked off
knocking
like
off,
$30,000 or
and it's like,
$40,000. Like,
yeah, and it's like,
what?
so you weren't being honest and fair with me
That's
to begin?
exactly how I feel. So I love that. And
And
with
if
my business,
people-
I'm very consistent. And I tell them, like, we don't do deals for anyone. I don't
Yeah.
care if you bought $50,000 worth of makeup. You don't get a special deal. We don't do group discounts. This is the price.
Yeah.
We told the same guy the same prices. You don't know if someone's going to like
Go
do
talk.
a new inquiry under a different name. If it's
And
something different.
exactly, and you never know if somebody's like being a ninja shopper, you know? So that is always I'm going to be honest and fair when they walk through the door, because also too, guys with engagement rings, they go into their offices, they talk with all their coworkers, all their bros, and they're like, oh
So
no,
proud.
you got to use my guy. And it's like, if I can't compete with his guy, like, then I just lost that whole team.
It really is like that, because
So,
guys
yeah.
don't know where to go. You go, where do I go? And so you're going to ask a couple
who's
of
been
people
married.
like, hey, where'd you get yours? And where'd you get yours? And so then, of course, what'd you pay for it? Like, because you don't know the prices. You don't know what you're supposed to pay.
Yeah.
I was learning as I was going through the process.
And that was the scariest part for me is when I left there and I started my store, Lindsey Lee Jewelry. I started off out of my house. My husband, we were engaged at the time, was living out of his parents' 1930s duplex. We had roommates above us, and I was on the bottom. And I was like, I need a place to start Lindsey Lee Jewelry.
And this is after you left the brokerage, the wholesale place, and so you worked there for.
Oh, so okay, we'll go back there. So I was there for a year, and my contract was that I would get 20% of gross profit, which is like, if you think about it, that's a really hard way to make a living. But I didn't realize that though, because I was 100% commission, and I was 100%, I had to bring in my own clientele. So
let's talk about this. If it's $100,000 ring, I'm saying big numbers here, but if it's $100,000 ring, you guys are charging $185,000.
Yes.
So then from there,
which is
so out of $85,000, you would get 20% of that.
Yes.
So if you're crunching the numbers, that's $15,000, which sounds like a lot. But if you're only pushing a couple of these a year at that size,
no, you do one of those that size.
I'm just using like
round
but
think
numbers.
About me. I am 25 years old. None of my friends, none of my clients that I'm bringing in are going to have
$100,000 ring.
That's
so they're buying a $10,000 ring.
Yes.
You're charging
Or less.
$18,000 for.
Yes.
And now you're only getting 20% of the $8,000.
Yes. So I didn't get
Some hungry months there.
any calls, people that called in being like, hi, I just was referred here. Can somebody help me? I didn't get any walk-ins. I didn't get any Yelp people. I didn't get any Facebook people.
That is a hard job for a
in your early
25-year-old. Yeah. If you're trying to sell high-end diamonds,
yes.
it's like,
Were those contacts and leads coming into the other guy because they had been there longer, or it just wasn't happening?
So no, they were coming in and they were split between those two guys through the owner and the other salesman.
So why
they
why
got
would-
them? Because I wasn't allowed in on it.
Wow.
Because I was hired
To bring in business. They thought you were going to bring in new business.
So, which was fine and dandy. And I did just that. I brought in my first year being there, this is why I started Houston Diamond Girl. I started the Instagram account. They thought it was so stupid. Oh my God, stop taking
While you were
photos.
still working for them.
Yeah. I started this when I was there because I was like, I don't know how to
Hustling
get
up
my
some
name
people.
out there. Like, I'm 25 years old. Like, people are starting to get engaged. How do I tell them about me? So any ring that they made, I would start posting. I'd go outside. I'd take videos, footage. And then I started to get people that like would call and be like, I want to meet with
your instant hand model.
hand model. Take me back to Paige Parks. And so people would then start to contact me through that and like started to call and be like, I want to meet with the Houston Diamond Girl. And they started to, the owner started to get like, whoa, this is working. So then they started being like, no, you're not using my ring to post and promote yourself. So then I wasn't allowed to start posting any of the stuff that they were making. So it was like only stuff that I was making. So then it was hard to grow my Instagram account.
Because then you didn't have any content at this point.
Because I didn't have any content because I'm still like, so then I started like bringing in clients. And in my first year,
that was challenging. That's a really challenging
at a
situation.
25 years old.
Yeah, but
So
she
how
made
did
it
you
happen.
even,
She
I
made-
know, but how did you even, start getting followers, like being so new? I mean, in the very beginning, just the right
Hustling.
hashtags.
But also
or-
too, remember then, like it was easier to be seen on Instagram than it is now.
This is like early days.
Instagram. Like now it's like if anybody was to start a small business and be like, I'm gonna start it off of Instagram, like good luck. Like it's freaking hard. Like Instagram is not meant for small businesses anymore. It's who can funnel how much money through paid advertising.
When I had 10,000 followers, I would have 4,000, 5,000 views on every story. I'm lucky if I get that now.
Same.
Now
It's
I have
so
80-something
bad.
thousand followers and you have 100,000 followers and I'm getting
It's
like
like-
2,000 views on my story. I'm like, this is a good story.
Yeah, that was really good. I put a lot of time into that. Is that not pathetic?
I know.
Like it's hard.
I do a lot of paid and boosts and stuff too.
Yeah.
That doesn't even matter. They
And
don't
it's
even-
like,
they
but
don't
we're
even care
not
at
a
this point.
corporation that can just funnel money into it. And so, yeah, it's hard. And so, like, if I didn't have that, Instagram from the beginning of it, like, I don't,
Kickstart.
yeah, I don't think I would have it what it is. But I also, too, was like in Houston, I was like one of, if not the only female breaking through the diamond industry. Think about it. It was all men,
Yeah.
all old men.
Yes.
Like why
You're the
why
young,
would a
trendy
guy
girl
want
with
to
some
come and
style.
talk to a
Yeah,
girl?
yeah.
But like I'm a female that knows what a girl
Woman
wants. Why are we letting men dictate it? So that was like the thing that was like, whoa, Houston. That's why I did Houston Diamond Girl, to be like, I'm a girl in the diamond industry.
In Houston,
Come
come
at
find me.
Yeah, come find me.
So then
Yeah.
the Instagram starts taking off.
Taking off, and so I started getting like friends noticing like, oh, you're doing this. Okay, let me come in. And then I started getting, some pretty good sales. But then, like, okay, let's say you do, like, my first year, I did what one guy did and, like, an outside salesman did in 5 years. Mind you, he was an outside salesman, but I started, like, digging around a little bit on the back end of things and realized he was getting 30% of commission and I was only getting 20. So I was like, that's not fair. What? So I did like 300,000 in sales. It was like 100 and something thousand in gross profit my first year, which is pretty freaking good for just me yelling at my rooftops, trying to hand my business card out to anyone and everyone who will listen.
So wait, the $100,000 is what you actually made salary, or that was a gross
No,
profit? You
gross
made 20% of that.
profit.
So 20%.
$20,000
Yeah.
your first year. Yay!
So after taxes,
Yay for minimum wage.
after taxes, I
surprised you
made
got any tax.
$27,000 my first year, and I handed it to my husband. I was like, or my fiance at the time.
Like, let's celebrate.
Yeah, I was like, does this make sense? And he was like, what the? No, you're better off selling cookies. Like, no, what? Let me see all your paperwork. And he's like a finance guy. So he sat down, went through everything. He was like, give me all your records. Let me see every sale you've made, what your commission was on it. This is insanity. And like, you know, I had sold a $60,000 ring and the profit margin was like 28,000. But like when you sell something like that, that takes months and it's big and it's like, wow, oh my God. And then you're making like $4,000.
Yeah.
It was like 4,500.
Kind of like a real estate agent, you know,
Yeah,
you
it
show
was
somebody
like-
30 houses and they just end up buying a trailer for 50,000.
Yeah. So he was like, no. Go in, talk to them, give them your numbers. He laid everything out in a like presentation and was like, you're asking for a raise. You need at least 30%. You're competing with them now. You're doing what an outside salesman does and he gets 30. Like, no. You need at least 30. Like your feet on the ground there. You're there every single day. Go to him, tell me this. And I did it. And then they looked at me and they're like, come back and give me 10 reasons why you deserve this. And they started laughing. And I was like,
How intimidating.
and I was like, okay, I can do that. And I went back to my husband or my boyfriend at the time and he was like, no, your reason is you're leaving. You're not going to give them anything. And I was like, what? Yeah. So he was the one who was like, no, you're leaving. I'll take care of you. I'll provide for you. You're not staying there for 27,000. That's not even worth your time being there.
At this point, did you know who all the distributors were? And
Yes, I did. I knew a lot of them. I knew all of them actually. So I was like, okay, like I know what I'm doing. But when I went in there and was like, hey, I'm actually like, I have to leave. This isn't going to work out. Sorry, bye. And it was like the most awkward thing ever. They were totally shocked by it because they thought like, oh,
You're
we
young,
have her on a,
insecure.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's an
puppy.
idiot, little girl. What is she doing? They thought I would come back with my 10 lists. And that was their thing. Well, she didn't even come back with her 10 lists. Like, why would she even deserve that raise? And I was like, oh my God, my list is my numbers that I created on my own. I didn't get anyone
no
hand
help.
feeding me. So yeah, so I came back, did that, and my husband was like, I don't care. You're not staying there. But we hadn't decided to start LLJ until like I sat on the couch and was just like, what am I doing? Do I call Cartier? Do I start knocking on people's doors? Do I
Just
go
to
be a
get something.
salesperson? And then I went to a manufacturer that I worked with that I had found for the previous jeweler. And I went and talked to him and I was like, I'm like really struggling right now. I don't know what to do. Here are all my numbers. Can I come work for you? And he was like a jewelry manufacturer. So he like, what the heck was I going to do? I didn't know how to make jewelry. Like, and he sat me down and he was like, no, Linz, like you need to go off on your own. Let me make all your jewelry. You go off on your own. You can do it. You're at the right age. Look at your numbers. They tell for themselves. And I was like, seriously? My husband's been saying that too. And he was
if
like,
you just did the math on what you brought into the previous place, not that bad money starting out. Like you could make a living
Yeah,
that first year. If this is the only thing I did and I duplicated what I did at this other place, you'd make $100 and something.
And
Yeah.
it's an industry where you don't have to have a brick and mortar out of the gate.
no.
Just
And
like
so,
makeup, I didn't have to
and
have
that
that.
was the thing. I was like, okay, if I give myself 1 year and I make $27,000, let's say I make $30,000, then I'm doing better than I did the year before.
That's what I was about to say. You can easily beat that out. You know the margins, you know what you brought in, and so you should be able to make X, right?
And you're 4 years in the
Yes.
business this time. Now you have your Instagram following.
Yes.
You know that it's going to be anything is better than what you were making at this
Exactly.
point. So no fear.
No.
And then you do next steps what?
I was like, So I do that. I start off on my own and he starts manufacturing. And then I was like, okay, well, I got to start like calling these diamond dealers I knew. So I call my diamond dealers and I'm like, hey, like I'm sure you know now I left where I was and I'm starting off my own. And they were like, oh, he's blackballed you. Anyone you know.
Already made the phone calls.
Yes, we're not allowed to talk to you. Sorry. Bye.
I've had
I
that
was
happen
like,
to me before too.
yeah. And I was like, and they're like, he does like $1 million with me between all of his sales reps. And I was like, okay,
They can't do that
that's
though.
fine. So they did. So they were just like, best of luck. We know you're going to do great. Bye. What the heck? Oh my God. My diamond dealers just dropped a ball on me. Now, all I have left are the Houston diamond dealers that I know, but I know that Houston diamond dealers
Have a markup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're going to the guys over in Belgium and same guys that I know that I can go to, but now I'm paying the Houston price to get them. So the only thing I knew was that there was this convention, diamond convention in Las Vegas every year. I used to go to it when I managed the jewelry store. It's all coming full circle now. So I went there and I went straight to the diamond industry and I was just like
Shaking hands.
putting down my number, putting down my card, and they're like, what are your references? And I didn't have any. I couldn't tell them, call this guy because
He's going to say something bad.
he'll hate me. He hates me, you know? So it was bad.
Were you able to give your first guy, the 3-year guy?
Yeah, I did, but he didn't really sell diamonds. So they wanted contacts of only diamond people that you'd worked with in the industry. And so I didn't have any and that I could give out. So I sat down with one guy and I still work with him today. And he just looked at me and he was like, I love your spirit. I love your spunk. I love everything about you. You have grit. And I'm going to give you 3 diamonds. Because I was like, I have these 3 clients and I don't know what to do. I can't get them diamonds. And they're literally coming to my house and meeting me at my dining table. My husband's dining table.
So do they give you some type of terms or credit? And then
Yes. So I said, I would sit down and I was like, these are the 3 clients I have. I need X, Y, and Z of stones. And it's called memo. So it's like memorandum in the industry. You borrow stones, you get them on lend. So they loan them to you. And so you have to have 3 sources of credibility in the industry. You have to have a credit line. Like you have to.
With new people, it's probably really hard for them because who do you
Exactly.
trust?
what are the terms like? So if you borrowed or they lent you one tomorrow, what are the terms? Is it like 30 days, 60 days? when you
Usually
close the
it's like
sale?
a few days.
That you get to have them in your possession.
Yes.
But if you
because
choose
he may
one,
have another.
So you're going to show it to someone. Do you like this stone? And then try to close the sale.
Yes, exactly. And I only have like, especially with somebody who doesn't know me. So my diamond dealers now, I have such a like great reputation with them, and I have like, I mean, I sell millions with them now. So it's like they want me to keep that diamond, and they're like, you know what, you can have it for another week. And I'm like, please, we're almost like the guys thinking about it. Give us another week.
Yeah.
Like they're like, we'll do anything for you now. But when you're trying to convince somebody to literally give you diamonds,
they don't know you.
they don't know you. You
I'm
have
sure a lot of
no,
fraudulent people
yeah,
come to these
no,
shows.
you have no
Yeah.
credibility.
Yeah.
You have nothing. Like I literally had a fake business card because I didn't even have time to
On
create a business
Vistaprint?
card. No, not even Vistaprint because I didn't have time. My husband had to print them off at his Wortham office, use their ink because we didn't even have a printer.
I think that's good information for everybody because everybody's like, oh, I got to get everything
No,
perfect
fake it till
before
you
we
make
start.
it.
Yeah. Or I just
that was my motto
my
for so
business
long.
cards. I got to get this set up. I got to do this,
No.
but they don't actually execute. And so,
I listened to a podcast and read because I was just like, how do I start? How do I start? You know, the first place you start is you just start doing so much research on the people that have already done it. So I was going and creeping on every New York City girl who started on Instagram. How did
Listening
they
to
do
their
this?
story, yeah.
Reading all their articles, reading all their podcasts, all their videos, and then reading all the books. Like Tillman's book came out in 2019. I was the first one at the bookstore to buy it. Like anything, what's it called? Shut Up and Listen.
I think I read that too.
Yeah. John was like, this book's about to come out. Like, you need it. So we ran to the bookstore the day it came out. And I was like, Barnes & Noble here? Like, I had the time too. Like, you know, and so I think that is so important is one of the articles I read from a very successful jewelry designer is you don't have to have everything perfect before you launch. Like even your name, even your branding, your logo, that all can change as you become who you are in your brand. Just start somewhere. So I was like, I didn't have a logo. I barely had a
Invest
name.
too much, in my opinion, to get it started, and that's so
and then all of a
risky
sudden
when
you
know
don't
it's gonna
start
work.
because
Yeah.
you're
Have a
like
proven
too wrapped
concept
up in the
first.
nitty gritty.
I'm the opposite of that. I'm like, let's start in 30 minutes.
Yeah, and
I'm
we'll
like
figure it out
pushing
later.
I'm like figuring out.
I like to
along the
perfect
way.
things a little
Yeah,
bit more
she
than
gets a
Sean.
little,
Sean doesn't
like,
give a
whoa,
shit
hold on,
if
hold on,
his
hold on.
pants are on fire.
But
But he'll put them out when he's walking.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he'll just stomp on it.
Yes, we'll figure it out along the way. And guess what? I'll be a little bit ahead of somebody else that's just like pondering and
That's
trying
pondering.
to get the
Wasting
I gotta
time.
get the name
Thinking
right.
like
I gotta
an
get
engineer,
this. I
Yes.
gotta
making
get
sure it's perfect.
I'm already like way down the road. I've made 100 mistakes before they even started.
Yes.
And so you're always gonna be past that person.
Because, you know, did y'all ever do, like, the hardest thing, you think that, because you're launching a company that whatever the name is, whatever the logo is.
Oh, the name is like such a big
It
deal.
is such a big deal. It identifies who you are. You can't
Your logo
mess
is
this up.
great. I think I said that earlier. Your logo is fantastic. Was that what you started with?
Thank you. No. So my
It was
husband,
probably in cursive, wasn't it? Like everybody else's back then?
It never
even
matters.
worse.
It never
Even
matters.
worse.
Yahoo, Google, like it's what you build
Think
the
about
brand
all the
around,
things
and
that
then
change.
but then it also is like, okay, you know it as that after you build the brand around it, but
Yes.
nobody thinks like, oh, this name is.
My logo is turquoise and in Japanese
Yeah,
writing.
it doesn't matter. We're actually changing a business that I invested in. My partner came to me today and said, hey, I think we should actually change the name a little bit and just drop this and make it this. I said, I was actually thinking about that over the weekend.
You've identified who you are and what your clientele want.
We feel like it needs to be so unique and busy.
That and
then
we
you realize, like,
expanded into some
simplicity
other
is
we
just so
we
much.
expanded into some other things, and so it's like
You're right.
it doesn't really
Make sense anymore.
it's like too dialed down to like some specific market, and it doesn't make any sense anymore.
Yeah.
The brand name is still okay, but we're changing a lot of the branding around it and stuff. So again, right, it happens along the way.
So when you
It's
first
just-
opened
yeah.
it, was it the name of the business?
It was.
So you didn't change your name. You just
No,
changed.
I decided it would be Lindsey Lee because I wasn't married yet. So I knew I'd be dropping my last name, but I didn't know if my last name should be involved because I wasn't married yet. So like
Yeah, that's the hard thing to do too.
naming
If I-
a company off a name that you're not even married to, So I was like, all right, it's Lindsey Lee.
Same
And it
for
flowed
me.
better.
I was like, I was born Ginger Kelly. I'm gonna die Ginger Kelly, and that's gonna be the name of my company. And I
Yeah.
told him, if you ever want to get married, well, I don't want to get married, but if we do,
Yeah.
I'm changing my last name.
I didn't
Exactly.
care. I didn't care though.
He's like, I
Yeah.
don't care. I was like, good.
Actually,
Most men
And it
care.
flows.
But
What works? Like
Our,
Lindsey Holt doesn't sound.
Both of our kids, the middle name is her last name, so it's Liam Kelly Lynch.
Oh,
And then,
cute.
so her last name is their middle name, and so
not
Lila,
hyphenated. We're
yeah,
not that douchey. But
yeah,
could you imagine? I'm
Lila-
sorry if anyone hyphenates their
yeah, Lila Kelly Lynch, and so her last name, then my last name.
Cute.
So
you just
that's what we end up like. It
Love
was the
that.
compromise.
Instead of
I guess.
rotating our last names with our
Yeah.
kids, and then no one knows they're related. It's fine.
Yeah.
So back to you.
Wait,
Back
okay,
to
where
you.
were we?
So you are in your boyfriend at the
printed
time,
the
or
bu- printed the business
fiance's house.
cards.
Yeah.
Oh, printed the business cards, went to Vegas. One guy was like, all right. So I was like, okay, well, I have these 3 clients. Can I just borrow like 3 stones? He wrapped them up. I mean, I had no insurance. I had nothing.
What do you mean wrapping them? You took them with you.
I took them with me from that
Oh,
show.
scary.
I said,
Dude, that's a big
Here's
on his
my-
part though. That's pretty.
take
That's
a picture
pretty
of my
awesome.
driver's license because he was.
Put them in your bra.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know why I have so much faith in you. And also another thing, in order to start like any kind of credibility or like in a business account or get a loan or get, insurance, any of those things, you have to have a office. I couldn't do anything because mine was a home. It was not a.
Oh, they wouldn't
Wasn't a
consider
You have
it.
a commercial location.
It
Did
wasn't
you
a
go get
commercial
Did you go get a little like PO box or not PO box but a UPS box?
So we then were trying to get a PO box at Chase or whatever it is.
Or it's not a PO.
It's
It's
a
not
yeah.
PO.
It's
to
like
say
a
that we were
UPS
storing
box.
the
Yeah.
diamonds there. God, it was just like, y'all, this is a freaking nightmare. I can't.
But you make it happen. That's what you got to do. You figure it out
you
along
fake
the
it.
way.
Literally, you
Got
fake
like
it till
a
you make
safe
it.
from Walmart at
Yes.
the house, just
The,
hoping
the
for
better
the
way to
best.
say it though is like you figure it out along the way.
Yes, you
And
figure
so
it out.
You're not faking it. You're like, okay, I'll figure this out. So okay, I can't do it in my home
Still
address.
our
I'm gonna go
motto.
rent this.
Yes.
It's more of figuring it out, and I think
Yeah.
people the fake it to make it phrase is more like you figure it the fuck out along the way.
Yeah.
That's basically what it means.
And like, no matter what, you're gonna do whatever it takes to
Yes,
figure it out.
exactly. And those are the winners, and then the losers are like, oh, I hit a roadblock.
Oh, I had. Oh, now
Yeah,
I
I
have.
can't do
okay.
it, and okay, I
haven't
gave up.
Yeah. So that was the hardest part. So he was like, all right, take them in your backpack. I brought in those clients. I flew back home from Vegas. I had these 3 diamonds in my backpack.
You're so proud.
So proud. I was like, oh my God. Literally showed each client like the single stone. Now we give spread of stones. Like, obviously as you should, like, here's your thing.
But I mean, were you telling people just wait? I'm trying to get the diamonds. Were you being honest with them? Like, I'm trying my best. Just hold tight. Or were you like
no,
also
because I
saying?
didn't want them to know that I was blackballed.
Okay.
So I was just like, yeah, I'm actually going to a Vegas show and I'm going to have all these diamonds and I'm going to pick the best stone for you and bring it back.
So you just
and
got
show
lucky
you
that guy gave you a chance, because otherwise that
literally,
Not so great.
if I didn't, I would just have to go to these Houston people that I knew. And
You
then I'd have
still
to
would have
pay-
made it happen though. If
I
that
would have
was
made it happen, but it wouldn't have been fair because I knew that I'd have to pay a higher markup on their diamonds, and that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to have, so I wanted to be competitive. So I come back and I show the stones, and within 2 days, I sell all 3. And I call the guy and I was like,
Come on, like pins and needles
I
over here.
sold all 3.
Do you
And
still
he-
buy from this guy?
Yeah.
See how awesome that
He,
was?
oh
That
yeah,
one day,
he flies in to see me. I have been one of his biggest.
created millions of dollars in business by giving some
Yes.
Girl a chance.
woman
No name.
at
Yeah.
Yeah, a woman at that,
convention.
you know.
And we
especially
still talk about it to this day. Like, he's like, he calls my kids. Like, we're very.
So this is in 2018-19.
Yeah, this is 2018. Yeah, June 2018. So it was Like I owe him so much and I tell him that all the time because he just really launched my company.
So you
And
married
my
this-
manufacturer, who still is my manufacturer today,
That's really cool.
who creates all my engagement rings, who was basically telling me like, go do it. So it's just like I went from a place of like men that just wanted to squash me and act like, you know, I couldn't do anything and like hinder me to a different space that was my own, to have
Welcoming,
men
yeah.
that were like, I got you, I'll support you, you can do this, how can I help?
So I did read when Candace sent me the summary, something I didn't know about you, that you have all women in your office.
All women.
And there's a reason behind that now.
Yes.
To support women in this industry where it's really
Yes.
hard to get your leg in the door.
It is. And it's funny because I never really like thought about it or was just like, whatever, because every day when you're in the business of being an entrepreneur, you're just like, how can I survive today? How can I get through it? And my husband's like, you know, you need to dwell on the like relish in the exciting things that you're doing. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to get through them. You know what I mean? You kind of overlook some of the big accomplishments because you're like, it took so long to get there and the heartache it took to get there. Now that it's happened, it's like, whew, on to the next thing. You never like, and so I'm trying to rewire myself to celebrate the small things. And my father-in-law always is like, he'll sit down on the couch and he'll just be like, wow, isn't it incredible that you are giving back? Like you are employing 15 women. Isn't that amazing? You're giving, and
Also
he always
scary
talks
when
about
you look
like
at it, too.
Houston. He's like, you're giving back to the community in the Houston, like by paying taxes. And I'm like, okay.
It's also intimidating though when you sit back and think that.
Yeah.
Sometimes like taking time to think about it also kind of gives you anxiety because you're like, oh shit.
You're like, if
How did I
something
get here?
fails, I can't provide for them. Yeah, so it's a lot. But you just like, you can't think like that half the time. You just got to think about the other
So I
things.
just
But
keep
yeah,
going. I
just
don't
keep
stop and
going.
think about anything. So
Right.
in 2000, you bought your first building. So it was
Yes.
only a short, brief stint at home, like less than 2 years.
No, I was only at my house for 6 months because then I started getting people coming through my website. So a girl had a stone and she was like, hey, can you make me a ring? And I was like, sure, I'll trade you a ring for a website. She worked for like a graphic designer for like this website design developer for this big corporate company. And I was like, if you can build me a website, I will build you a ring. So we sat at a
Trade.
Boozy's and we sat at a Boozy and we made a trade. And she still wears her ring every day. And now it's the #1 like custom LLJ ring, selling ring on my website. Launched my company.
Is that what you're wearing?
Yep. It's our LLJ Emerald signature ring. And so she launched my website. I got my first inquiry from a random person that I didn't know. And I was like,
Pooping your pants. Is this real?
yeah. And I'm like, and I'm in this 1930s duplex in a neighborhood off of Westheimer.
So when you had the website, there's no products on there yet. This is just an inquiry, like a landing page,
Yep,
and
just
they
a
can
landing
reach out and
page.
say,
And the only product I had put on it was while we were at that Vegas show, my husband was like, let's get into jewelry cleaner. You always complained about how do you sell a diamond without selling a jewelry cleaner? Like people are like, oh, spray Windex
Clean
on
mine
it.
today because I knew
Yes.
that you were
Or-
with your stuff.
Or put Dawn dish soap and clean it. Like, why would you not give them something that helps them keep their.
Because they're your referral source.
Yes, exactly. And then that has your name on it. And so my husband was like, look, we really need to invest in jewelry cleaner. I was like, no, we're not doing this. And he was like, no, we are. Mind you, I had literally just launched and he went out and invested into jewelry cleaner, spent $900.
was it like a private label kind of thing? And you just,
Yes. And now it's like
Has to be for $900. That's where I started, though. That's fine.
So now I have a relationship where it's like, I have my own samples that are different from everyone else's. And now I get to create, I want this texture, this material. I want it to be created out of this. Let's go make this formula together. So, which is just funny because I was like, I got the like, I don't know, however many jewelry cleaner it was, but every single one I gave away, I was like, okay, I gave one away. Oh no. Okay, somebody bought one, and then my friends would come in and they would just take like 6 and I'd be like, John, she came in and she took 6 and now that's $900 that I can't sell. And he was like, you have got to calm down. This is called marketing. And I just didn't fully understand it because I was still counting all the hair, like the doll hairs. And so we get through that. We make the website. A random inquiry comes in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know this guy. And so I'm texting all my neighbors, being like, hey,
You don't want to go to his house.
No, he's coming to my house because they're coming to my duplex.
Why did you schedule to go to his house? I mean, I'm thinking like have someone come to my house and see that I don't have a place, or go to their house and maybe not come out.
Exactly.
Listen to my best friend like
because
location
I
tags.
set up a desk in my husband's like little like study closet area, and that was where I met clients. And so this first client that came through, he I couldn't look him up. I couldn't stalk him. I couldn't creep on him. I didn't know how he was referred to me. I didn't know how he found out about me. And so I was texting all my neighbors, like, can you walk by? I'm going to like put up my thumb if I'm good, or like call the cops if I'm not. Like, so they would walk by and be like, are you good? I'd be like, yeah, I'm actually good. Okay. You know, like he was referred to me. I just didn't know he came from the Woodlands. And so then I was like, it's getting a little scary. Now I'm getting too many clients. And then I started having people waiting on my couch in my living room. And y'all, this
did you have kids yet?
No, I wasn't even married yet. This was my husband's home that looked like a bro pad. Like, I had to literally get rid of his couch that had holes in it, and we had to go to Rooms to Go and get a decent couch so people could sit in it. Oh, it was
a hot mess.
Such a hot mess. I got a neon sign that I put above the couch so people would know that it was Lindsey Lee Jewelry. And then I just got people waiting on the couch, and I was like, this is kind of like out of hand. And I couldn't get jewelry insurance, so I had a safe, but I wasn't insured. Yeah. And so then it got like a little like, oh no, we have all these stones ringing for all these people. Now this is our home. Now I don't feel right. I have random people coming into my home. So then we rented a 500 square foot warehouse on Road Place behind Blue Dorn. And now, ironically, I still have it, and I lease it back for all my storage. But I bought the flagship store March 13th, 2020, and then the world shut down like two weeks later.
I remember that time. I remember they told me on March 18th, they go, well, the whole world's shutting down. So do you, this SBA loan, it was a few days later, they were like, they're shutting them all down. Do you want this building or not? And I remember being so scared. So be glad that you made the decision before.
Oh my God, when
all of
interest
that
rates
versus
were like
after.
2.5.
I know.
And then who would have thought
Yes.
that the values of everything would have just been that crazy? I would never predict.
3% interest rate.
I didn't know they were.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were going to print a bunch of money. So, but I was waiting for it to collapse. I was going to go buy a bunch of real estate, and I was like, okay, I guess this could be a good thing.
And it went up. And
Losing a bunch. Yeah, we're losing a bunch of. We're losing a bunch of business over here in this business, but at least I'll have an opportunity here.
I know. Looking
Totally
back,
the
I just
opposite.
kind of wish we had like
So crazy.
bought more, done something more.
You can't even. I
You
mean,
can't think
who
like
would
that
have? Who would
now.
have never even? Who would have ever predicted that though?
Yeah.
Like, there was the values were going to be
But
so
dang,
crazy.
do y'all remember like the SBA loans? I thought my husband was going to lose his mind. That just, you had to give away your soul just to get one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it took like a really long time.
It took
I was
forever.
able to do.
Close. They charge you a bunch of extra fees, and
Yeah.
I was able to do my first building with one,
Yeah.
and then he kind of walked me through it because he's like, okay, this is what you need to do. You have to do it this way because it's fixed. He's like, he does commercial real estate, so he's like, you know, every other building that I own, I have to refinance every 5 years. And I'm like, why would they do that? And he's like, they don't know what their interest rates are going to be.
Yeah.
They're going to lose money on
It's
these
too
big
much risk on the
projects. It's too much
rates
risk.
and
It's going to
stuff.
be, but the SBA is fixed.
So
So
Yeah.
the government eats the loss if the rates change like
They're eating
are
right
right now. Yeah, because I actually went just back and looked
I
recently.
finally feel ahead once in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, weird times.
So you buy the building and you did a lot with it. I remember what it used to look like.
Yes.
Wasn't it like a dark brick or something? Was it red
Dark
brick
red
or something?
brick. Oh God, it had carpet on the inside. It had yellow walls. It had a complete like industrial what do you call those? Cubicles. Like industrial, like they had
Oh, I know what
Soundboards.
you're talking about.
yes, in like they were in the concrete type cubicles. Like they weren't just like, oh, stuck in there. They were commercial grade.
So I would
Like,
love
it
to
was
see pictures.
insane.
If Brian can, if you can provide pictures and Brian can
Oh, I
drop those
have
in here to
them.
show what they
It was
were versus what it is now. Totally
Beyond
different.
horrible. And we couldn't get a contractor because it was COVID and you weren't supposed to be around anyone. So John and I were trying to take these cubicles out ourselves, and they were literally screwed into the concrete. Yeah, it was fun.
Actually, I think that's when I started following you was right then. I remember you going
Yes.
up there every day and working.
And it was just us two doing it for
That's
like
right.
a month and a half because we couldn't get a contractor out there.
Totally
How
forgot.
big is it? The building that you purchased.
2,200 square
Okay.
feet. Yeah. So we've outgrown it.
And did you
We've
turn
been-
it into office/retail? So it's retail and then
So
some office.
it's kind of like e-com on one side, retail in the middle, and then totally customs on the other side.
So what percent is your ecom?
Oh, it's probably about 70% now.
Oh wow.
No, yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
Well,
It
you
was
can-
50-50.
You can scale that. You know.
Yeah.
That's all over the world.
And you can throw money at retail. I mean, yeah, I'd like
At
e-com.
Yeah.
Aren't
can
you glad
send-
you did that? Because that was a big risk in the diamond industry to be, in my opinion, to be
Yeah.
online with.
Well, and I also knew I came from the dainty jewelry side of things, which I never had at my other store. So I was like, I'm going to bring both of my worlds together and create one place, because I loved being a buyer for, you know, dainty jewelry and making it and selling it. And now, I mean, we have manufacturers all over the world that we work with.
When you ship expensive stuff online, do you just insure it and then
Insure
nobody gets
signature
it?
required.
Yeah, that's kind of what I order a watch every once in a while online.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I told him, I was like, that's so risky. Why would you do that?
No, not really. It's insured.
It's
and then
insured.
Everything's like
Yeah.
everything's like authenticated, and it's not like it
Yeah.
used to be where it's like Wild West where you're just like buying
Exactly.
some random thing from.
And we've had, I mean, our biggest issue was UPS workers stealing our stuff.
Oh, I could imagine.
But now we
right?
have the most intense packaging. I feel really bad for anybody who orders off our e-com because the way we had our boxes made, you have to literally get a samurai sword to open it up because
They appreciate it.
because
They know what they're
UPS
picking up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
UPS was opening up the packages.
Oh, especially when they know.
and then
yeah.
yes, and then putting them back on packages and putting the label on there.
Put, like,
it
little
looked it was
cameras in there.
never, Yeah. Oh, they they didn't. UPS doesn't care that much to like.
No, I would. I'd put little cameras
Oh,
in there.
You
I'm
have
all
to-
about
Every
catching
package-
the criminals.
You have to make it all that security stuff where if it's broken, then
yeah. I mean, they would just take off the label, put it back onto a new box, and they were getting away with everything. So we were like, I have to come up with my own packaging that you cannot mess with this.
I think
We
I
haven't
just
had one
recently had
employee
that.
steal since we came out with our new packaging.
One of my manufacturers in Canada, and I just recently, just through a client making a comment saying, I think I needed a lighter foundation, which led to me saying, well, I don't have any history on you. Did you buy one from one of my retail stores? I can't see what you've already purchased, so I can't help you buy the lighter one. And she's like, I know I bought it on eBay, which then got me going to eBay to see a lot of stuff from one particular manufacturer out of Canada, which led me to believe after talking to them and learning their systems of how they double or triple check everything. I don't think it was them and I don't think it was me. I think it was in customs on the border because they open up your packages. And I think someone has taken those things out and then is reselling them. Because it was weird that it was all from one, there wasn't that much on there, but it was all from this one particular manufacturer. And it happened 2 years ago.
Oh,
So I think they're not finally dwindling down their stock, but people don't realize how much the packages really are tampered
they
with.
are tampered with. Yeah.
So when you first went out on your own, the first year in business, how much revenue did you do?
First year.
First year. So probably wind it back because this is before you bought your retail store. But the very first year you were in business by yourself.
I do know that my first month I did over 60,000 in sales.
Okay. Do you remember like approximate on the first year maybe? Just like
I
So,
think
so right
it
then,
was,
so right then with your new margins, you had already
Yeah, yeah.
matched.
Exactly.
Yeah, you made it
What
on
you did
your
at the
first
other
month.
place.
mind
You
you,
made
my
it.
margins were way better for my clients. Way better.
Yeah, so you were making less money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, to have 60,000 in sales in my first month.
You knew you made the right decision.
And I didn't have a system or anything, so I did everything on Excel spreadsheets. So I still have those
A
Excel
lot of people
spreadsheets.
do, yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think I did about my first, because I started in May. It was about my first 7 months that calendar year to end. It was around like 600,000, I think.
That's really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you'd even doubled what you had sold at the other
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What did you use to market to people? Was it just Instagram?
Just
or?
Instagram.
Okay.
Mhm. And I never paid for anything. It was
Yeah, it was
just
just
me.
organic. That's what she did for 10 years,
Yeah.
10 plus years.
So what would you contribute your success to? What would you say? Was it when you made your website? Was it when you got on Instagram? What do you
It
feel like the biggest
was
factor is?
honestly, it was a lot of influencers coming to my duplex and having faith in me and being like, whoa, what am I doing? And being like, I know, just trust the process, it'll be great. It's
So like
fine.
giving them a free piece of jewelry and having them in exchange post about you? in
No,
the
I never
beginning,
gave
or-
anything free away. Not until recently did I start giving away, start doing the whole PR thing. That's this year. I've never given
Same.
away anything free. Just if you trust me, and I never asked anybody to share me. I still to this day think it's awkward to ask people to share me.
I don't do that.
Yeah, I can't.
Unless it's some sort of giveaway, I don't ever ask.
Yes,
for
same. Unless I'm sending a package, be like, if you love it, let me know. I'm so awkward and so uncomfortable like that. I'm not like a salesperson when it comes to that. I always want them to genuinely share it because they like it, so it doesn't feel like forced or fake
'cause
or
not a
that
lot
I
of people
paid them.
Ask me that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and when I look at influencers, I'm like, oh, you got paid. Do you really? Do I want to try that face lotion because you got paid?
Yeah.
So that's a hard struggle for me. So it's always just like a relationship. I'm super big in relationships with people. So they would come, and then it just started being word of mouth, sharing me, posts about me, and I just kept growing.
And then referrals once you're in business for a
And
year.
yeah, and then
it's
if you're
you start
if
getting
you're
a bunch of
fair and you're
referrals.
trustworthy and you create a relationship with people, they'll I'll sing praises to anybody that I love and enjoy. I do it all the time on Instagram. I'm like, I genuinely love working with you. I'm going to sing you to the rooftops because I want everybody to know about you and I want you to scale. So that's where it's for me, it was just mainly word of mouth, and then growing my team and having all their friends come in. And then, yeah. And then 2020 to 2021 was the biggest growth year. We grew over 567%. My company
Was
did
that
the
mainly
next
due
year.
to e-com and
So you're doing $4 or $5 million by your first year in your
pandemic
retail store.
and-
Yeah, and it was just post-pandemic, I mean, people couldn't travel. They couldn't go out and fine dine. So like husbands were like, my wife is now a principal, a stay-at-home teacher, and she has her own job. Like, so moms were and women were becoming such like so many hats at one time that men were just making sure that they knew how much they were appreciated and they couldn't travel. So like girls would be like, yeah, I had a $10,000 budget to go to Africa this summer and it got canceled. So here I am spending it with you. So it really launched my company. I know that it's like hard to say that because it didn't do that to so many companies.
A lot of people it did though.
It did. A lot of people. Yeah. Because
especially
people had extra
on the
income.
especially on the e-com side. So one question I do have is, did it continue or did that growth continue after the pandemic, that 400 or 500%? Did you continue to grow each year after that? Or was it like
never that crazy?
Okay.
Each year it was like, it grew 280.
But you were still able to maintain the higher percentage and then just barely.
Yes. And then like every year it goes down like 100. And now it's like 30% year over year, which is like
still really good.
Where you want to, I guess, like that's where, but now I hired on like a whole team, a whole consultant last year to be like, hey, we're out of COVID. We're out of that craze. You know,
everybody had that bubble and then now suffering with flat.
Now it's back to normal. It's like, wait a second, I don't grow 500%.
Like,
what's going on?
And then it's like you get out of that like COVID bubble and now you're in this horrible year of like elections, the economy, and it's like everybody's getting hit at once this year.
The worst year for our business ever.
Yes.
By the way, this is the first year in 13 years we've run a decrease.
Yeah, and it's just
not
like,
just me; it's everyone.
It's everyone. My
yeah.
consultants, you know, they run big corporate brands, you know, big fashion brands.
But nobody's
all over.
talking about it. It's so frustrating. They're not talking about it out loud, so you feel like you're the only one.
You do, but you're not. I mean, I have my people that I call all the time because I'm like sitting on the stairs crying, wondering, how was my summer so hard? This is the first year I've had to pay for advertisements, had a
just to get
advertising team, to have a like consultant team. Like you have all these extra expenses and it's like to just get your name on the board to just level out to what you did last year.
That's exactly where we're at
people,
too.
Yeah,
I think people
don't
need to
realize
hear this that own businesses because nobody's really talking about social media because you don't want to get on there and say, yeah, I'm a loser this year. I mean, I do, but
yeah, but
I mean, because then people are going to thinking, oh, well, you know, what's changed?
But have you been seeing on Instagram? It's really sad. Like a lot of these small businesses that I follow,
I'm seeing them just close.
They're closing.
Restaurants, boutiques.
I've started screenshotting because I'm like, okay, what the hell? Like I know I have all my people that I call and they're like, yeah, this year sucks. This year sucks. Like we just have to get through it. This year sucks. And it's like now that it's an election year, it's just like it's hard. And
that's why I'm not really stressing about it now that I've talked to my manufacturers and they were like, you should be glad that you're only down. This is like I would say 6 months ago now.
Yeah.
That you're only down 200,000.
Yeah.
Other companies are down millions. So you should be grateful.
Since it is a diamond company or jewelry in general, do you have a bunch of customers that finance? Or is it just all cash pay? I'm saying you don't finance them, but you send them to like a third party financing to.
Yeah. So we have a thing called Synchrony Financing. Every now and then clients use it.
I was just curious.
It's available. It's there for
because
them.
of course it's a way higher rate now, and so I just didn't.
Yeah, so it's just like they have to sit down and crunch the numbers, or do they want to open up a credit card and try and do it that way? So, yeah, we do have people that do it all the time though.
Yeah, I was just curious.
But mainly, we have our clients are paying for it up front.
So how do you feel like the marketing is working? So I think everybody gets to a point where they feel like I can't grow anymore on my own. So either I bring in another partner, or I start the online marketing thing because the organic stuff only goes so fast, and the organic is so good in 2020, 2021, and now it's so hard. Like we said earlier,
that's why I was like, I don't know if I could start and do the way that I did if I didn't have the Instagram and the hustle behind the Instagram to do it.
There's always a new thing though.
There's
always a new TikTok. There's always a new this.
What's going to be next and what's going to be new, and that's always kind of scary. But it is really hard to want to put so much into something when it's so defeating. Like you will spend 2 hours doing an Instagram reel, and then it gets no views.
I know.
And you're like,
trust me,
what the hell? I just created my whole launch around this thing that took me days to put together, and then no one saw it. And I'm like, and then it's like, I don't care. I don't want to do it anymore.
Are you mainly advertising to like cold traffic or warm traffic? Are you retargeting the people that have already like clicked on your Instagram?
So I have different channels of everything. I have my same people that, that I'm targeting over and over to just remind them. And then I'm hitting new targets. Those are just like the most expensive.
Cold traffic is
it's really hard. It's, why do you have to spend the more money, and the ROAS on it is way lower.
On new traffic?
Because you're trying to get them to trust you, and they're like, I don't know
your
you.
return on ad spend is going to be
way lower. It's like
so if somebody has clicked on our stuff, maybe watch a couple videos, but never purchased, that that converting that person is going to be a lot cheaper than like just some random cold person that doesn't know anything about her brand, doesn't know anything about her jewelry. And so if she retargets those other people, that'll be a little bit cheaper of a conversion.
And you're coming into a space that is so hard right now with the election because all the space is being bought out by campaigns. And it's just like,
oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, my ads, and then you get like more competition that enters the market, and then they start competing against your name, and then you have to start fighting for your own name. And it's like, okay, I used to spend $40 a day for my name in Houston. Now I got to spend $85. And it's just like, it's just a constant
I know, it's a
game.
big chunk of my budget going away for that.
Yeah, and it's like, and if you don't do it, what would happen if you didn't do it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly
That's scary.
That's what we look at when we went back and forth. Should we continue with this?
But you can't stop it cold turkey because then you got to spend the next couple of months rebuilding it to where you were. It's a game, but it's like, what if it wasn't there?
Do you know how many percentage of your customers are men or women?
Yes.
What's the percentage?
Online only.
Well, I mean, I guess it's hard to tell because, like, but if you just took the people that you knew about, what percentage is male and what percentage is female?
I think it's about 60%, 65% female.
Okay.
That's a big chunk of men though looking.
Yeah, no. Yeah, because you're always buying a gift for someone.
Yeah, but it's mainly our in-store shoppers are men.
Okay. You know why? Because you want help. Like you need help.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're like, I don't know what I'm buying. What do I buy?
And women are just like, oh, I'll buy that for myself online.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. They already know what they want. They already like this, or they saw something similar. I was like, I'm buying that.
But then you do have your men who just like online shop you, and
I feel like some good content would be some stuff that would help men to like, because I knew nothing. I didn't know who to ask. I'm like, I don't want to buy something. And of course, I'm a real estate investor, and I'm always trying to like, okay, not buying at resale. Like, let me figure out
the man from day one. Like,
just
what are you looking for?
And just giving them the right information.
Having
like, hey, this is usually the markup. This is usually this, and like you know, this is what you need to do for sizing. This is what you need to do for color. This is what most women are looking for. I don't know, just something that could be some sort of starting point to make them feel comfortable to buy instead of just like walking into the.
Or like, I'm really going to get help here. These women know what they're talking about.
We have like a video on the website that shows like 2 of our men clients coming in and looking at stones, but you don't hear the talking or anything.
Yeah, if there was
like explaining the process and then like numbers.
Yeah, I would if somebody came to me and asked me, I would kind of walk them through my process and what I learned through it.
But numbers are always changing. Like after COVID, because of COVID, diamonds went up an insane amount.
Sure, like everything else, right?
Yeah. And anytime the world is at like war or recession or anything, gold always goes, like my industry suffers from it because no one is spending money and everything's getting more expensive for me.
It's like crunching down.
Yeah. So it's like,
So what's your biggest roadblock now at this point? Like, what do you feel like your biggest struggle is and something you feel like you need to overcome after you've scaled to this size and you feel like you can't get past that?
Me, probably. I'm my biggest roadblock. Because I always have, my husband and I talk about all the time, and anybody who's an entrepreneur and who is a mother, like, struggles internally so much. You're always at war with yourself. You want to be, you want to be everything and everywhere for your kids and be the one to pick them up every day, be the one to drop them off every day. But then you also want to be everything for your store and, you know, your teammates and be everything for them, and you want to scale and you want to grow it. And then I'm like, John, and when I'm talking to my husband, I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm missing so much. I like want to be there with my kids, and I don't want to go to 5 events every night this week and not put them to bed. Like, I'm done with it. And he's like, okay, then stop. Like, you have that ability just to step back and say, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, yeah. And if I do,
I am without that.
But then, if I do, then my sales that week are just going to flop because I'm not like present on the Instagram and I'm not present in the store and the meeting with clients. And I suffer for that when I'm not on these marketing meetings and I'm not talking to all these influencers, and then it suffers. And then I'm trying to fight to get it back up, and then I'm missing more because I'm fighting to get it back up. And he's like, then you can't. Like, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I go through the same thing.
I want both, but I think my thing this year is I really want to like build and grow my team so much so that I can find a better balance, because being full speed with both is like gonna destroy me.
Yeah, that's my best piece of advice for you. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect in any sort of way, and I still have a lot of shit I gotta work on myself, but doing everything from day one. This has been 13 years for me, doing everything myself in the very beginning, because I couldn't afford, or I didn't want to risk not being able to pay somebody back, or not spending the money. Yeah, I did it on myself for a very, very long time, but then hiring a COO about 4 or 5 years ago, starting out as a consultant, moving to a COO position, has helped me get a little bit more organized. But me letting go was hard as hell.
Yeah.
But I noticed the more I let go, it suffers on, the sales floor, because it's not the same experience. If I'm not there teaching them myself, because it gets diluted. But I finally did just say, okay, I have to choose, because I'm suffering from burnout. which is probably where you're at now too. The
Yep.
mom guilt and the burnout starts adding up and equals anxiety, which
Yep.
equals like you taking that out as
But then
aggression.
you're entering Q4 of the busiest, craziest, and you have to give it all the
Yes.
one time you want to be with your family all the
Yeah,
time.
but you have to be able to hire. I think from what we discussed even before we got on and when we got on in the very beginning is you have to be able to create those videos
Mm-hmm.
so you can duplicate yourself and get a really good trainer in there, which you're already working on.
Which I'm
and I
like,
think
that's genius. The
it'll take 6 months at least to roll that out. And once that's rolled out and implemented, you're going to feel a big weight off of your shoulder that you have a little bit more
Yeah.
time. I'm not physically here in this building from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. anymore every day. I'm not. I don't
Yeah.
have to be because I can trust my team and I can go do podcasts in Vegas like we did last week for
Yeah.
3 days. I'm still assisting. I'm still training my new assistant. Right? I should have literally threw her to the wolves and said, I'm leaving town. I'm having a baby and I'm leaving town.
Yeah.
So good luck. But I was still training her, but I wasn't answering to everything because I don't have to
That's
do
the
that. I'm
thing.
not on marketing calls anymore. I'm on this one last one today to kind of set them up for what I need. I'm not doing marketing calls anymore. I'm leaving that to my team to take over so I can breathe
Yeah.
and be with the baby. You're not there yet, but you're just starting, but you're making progress. And Sean's always told me, like, you got to have a strong team. You're
Yeah.
never going to let anyone go too soon and regret it
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't have the right person on your team that can handle it yourself. He's like, when you're bitching every day, like, it's not the same when I'm not there. He's like,
Yeah.
"No, you don't have the right people. Like, either you're not implementing training or you don't have the right people.
Yeah, you're doing something wrong if you're not
You're doing too much.
allowing them to have some kind of ownership in their job.
Yeah, but I get it.
Every single person goes through the same thing.
Yeah.
though. You're not some.
I know.
Like,
You feel alone
it's just
when you're going
they're-
through it.
Yeah, but everyone goes through the exact same thing.
Because everybody else on social media that's fake looks like they have their shit
yeah,
together, but they also
no,
don't, and they
they're
struggle
trying
from the
to-
same things we do.
And it's just funny because like the most viewed on my Instagram and stuff like that is when I show my real life. That's like, this is just today
But
sucks.
it needs to be 80% you and
Yeah.
20% the business. This is kind of like what I equated out to be. And everybody knows I'm on quote maternity leave, which is not real maternity leave. I still work every single day.
Yeah.
I've tried, just will never happen in my life to be on true
Yeah.
maternity leave.
That's not
Especially owning
forward
4
in our-
businesses.
in our-
It's not, yeah, it's not possible. But I'm showing more at home stuff and I get more views and that creates more relationships with
Yeah.
people. And then the 20% of selling is more powerful than 80% selling 20% because they want to know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who am I buying from? Why don't they trust you, these new people? They don't know you.
It has to be relatable.
Yeah. So doing my coffee talks with yesterday's makeup on with shit in my teeth and saliva and my boobs hanging out. People just love that shit.
I just got
'Cause
on
it's-
social. I just got
it's
on
real.
social media, so I'm learning as I go.
Good luck.
So we got his first little, not hate mail, but his first, kickback,
It wasn't-
talk back. It
it
wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
But he's like, can you believe this? And I'm like, that's what I've been dealing with for 13 years, except for they all tell me to cut my mole off and how I'm disgusting because I have this big hairy mole on my face.
She gets a lot of weird comments. There's weird people out there.
You
Just
get
ignore
numb
them.
to it after a
I don't
while.
care. I
But I
don't
thought
care
I was the
about
only
that
one getting hate stuff. And I partnered with Dominique. You probably know her.
Yeah.
News lady turned,
She moved to Dallas though.
influencer. She moved to Dallas. But we have been friends for probably 8 to 10 years now. She used to, for free,
Yeah.
talk about my products. She loved them. And then we sold millions of dollars through her. So now we have like a collaboration
Yeah.
where she gets, a percent of her lipsticks branded after her name, like a
Yeah.
royalty free. But I thought, she just online just seems so positive. Like she must not be ever getting any of this. And when her
Oh,
sister
no.
go, oh no, I get it too. I'm like, really? You do too?
Yeah.
That was, 2020 when I didn't realize that I was the only one getting all this hate mail. But we all get it. Everybody goes through it. You just can't look at it. Can't
No
read
one's
the
talking about it.
comments. And, yeah. So anyway, we know you're really busy, and we really appreciate you taking 2 hours out of your day today to tell your story. I think it's
Love
very
it.
inspiring to
Love
know
it.
that you also work from home with business cards made on a printer, bringing strangers into your home
You
with
just
a
gotta-
leather couch.
Hard launch. Just go.
But it's like you said, that what the guy saw in you, the diamond show, is your grit and your hustle. And no matter what roadblock is put in front of you, you're going to get around
You're
it.
gonna figure it out.
And when times get hard, you push through. So
But that's like no one's gonna make it as an entrepreneur, or they're not gonna scale unless they have those qualities. And oftentimes they're not the best qualities. But if you can't, you're just kind of like born with it.
Can't accept no for an answer.
Yes,
That's the
exactly.
part.
You're gonna find it, and you can't create yourself to have those qualities. You're just kind of like it's in you or it's not.
he actually sent me something the other day about how people with ADHD, which is obviously me, him with OCD and a little bit of that as well, is that, we're able to juggle so many different things and being punched in the face 1,000 times
Yeah.
and not,
And it's like
say,
you wake up at
moving
1
on.
a.m. and you're like, oh god, I gotta send myself, and you're just constantly sending yourself emails.
Yes, I do that all the time.
Do
That
it
was
all
the
the time?
best. Actually, I want to say that tip on here. One of the best tips I ever learned. Because I'm ADHD, I don't refer back to my screenshots that
Yeah.
I take. I don't refer back
Neither
to
do
my
I.
notepad,
It's
but
email.
I
You
feel I
gotta
still
email
feel the
yourself.
need to
Yeah.
screenshot things, but I
But I
will never
won't.
look back.
Never look
I will
back.
never organize my folders,
No.
so they'll never
Same.
happen.
It's chaos
But
on my phone.
at the end of the day, someone said, what works for me? I send myself emails and I leave them unread until
Yep.
I handle them. So
Same.
that's my to-do list. Each
Even
individual
text
thing.
messages left unread do not work. I'll still take 4 days to get back to you. It's the emails because I want my emails down every day. Yeah.
Organize them by importance, and that's how I get through my list. Sean, I'm trying to teach him that because he's a ball dropper over here, but it's fine. We're getting there.
Yeah.
He just gets lots of stuff on his plate, and he has like more things going on than I do. So I'm like, just try the email thing.
I would agree with that. I just like I'll execute on everything, and so some stuff gets kind of.
No, you just wait for people to remind you on the 5th time, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll take
Not
care of that now.
everything.
That's my husband.
Some
Yes, Brian's laughing because he knows it's true. They all know it's true. Everyone in this room knows it's true.
Uh-oh.
It's fine.
That's for next podcast.
Don't worry about it.
I'll take that. I'm getting better at it.
Oh, it'll take him a few times.
But,
But anyway,
but I'm pushing the boat as fast as it'll
Yeah.
go.
I know. I'm like, put the anchor down.
And I'm like, go faster.
He's the one doing the SBA loan behind the scenes. You don't
Yeah.
know everything that's going into it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you for coming today. We really appreciate
Yes, thanks
your
for having
time
me.
and loved hearing your story.
Love it.
All right.
Can't wait for it to come out.